Hey guys, what's going on? Inception here, and welcome to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be talking about the new leaked promo for this Friday, the Foot Captains promo. We're also going to be doing another discussion video, apparently for the new leaked Foot Hero upgraded cards, actually. Some of the cards I actually didn't end up reviewing for this year's game, and I do apologize for that. I just didn't have the facilities to actually get those cards at the time, but now that we do, we should be okay to review most of them. But guys, first up we have is this promo for Friday, the Foot Captains promo, and to be honest, they have leaked some pretty impressive cards for the meta of the game, right? So the first one we have here is the Hugo Lloris card, which, to be fair, I'm not hugely impressed by from his rare gold card. Now this card could be significantly better, but as you guys know, I remember doing some reviews for other cards. It wasn't for Lloris, right? But I was doing some reviews for some other cards, and Hugo Lloris, man, he was just letting in some absolute blunders, and it was really annoying to work with, right? So with goalkeepers, as you guys know the vibes, you always have to try them out. You have to see what they're like under certain circumstances. Obviously, if they let in high percentage strikes, not necessarily a big deal, but it's some shots where they, someone goes for a corner and then, like, the header sucks and then it still goes in, like stuff like that. You obviously have to check out, right? So with goalkeepers, we do have to check that out, but obviously the improvements are always a nice one. Goalkeepers, I don't trust as much, guys, because as you guys know, man, like the Team of the Year Donnarumma for me, for instance, like I'm not crazy about that card. But with goalies, I don't know, man, they're always 50-50. But for me, like I've been using like the second informed Lafont card, and he's been doing really well for me. So I'm just kind of stuck with that one for the most part. By the ways, some people think that this promo is a card where it looks like what I just showed you, but it's not. It actually looks like this. Apparently there's going to be two different variations of this card. One looks like the premium version of it, and then one, well, like the premium as in regards to him getting upgraded, right? And then the other one is just like the regular that I guess they release, right? So it probably has some sort of variable where they do get upgraded as well, depending on a few things here and there, I guess, right? So just a couple things to consider. But for the rest of the cards that we have here that have apparently been leaked, we have Ben Yedder as the next one. So obviously with Ben Yedder's card, guys, he does fit the meta criteria of the game really nicely because he has a few things, right? So in his case, he has a really good unique body type while being a short player. So his center of gravity for taking shots is incredible. Now, what I will say, right, is that I feel like this new card is going to be nasty, and I'm going to explain why, right? So for this card right here, depending on the playstyle that you're going to be working with, I think most people gave him a hunter chemistry style, right? To boost the pace as much as possible, boost his shooting as much as possible, while working with certain things here and there. This card was, and still is, pretty decent to use in the meta of the game because at some point from the 87 version or the 87 rated version of the card and upwards, he became really solid. I didn't like these versions of the card. His rare gold, oh my goodness, in the beginning of the year irritated me beyond belief. Like, I don't know how some people like this card, but again, once it hit the 87 rated version and higher, he became significantly better. So the main difference that I'm going to point out here, right, is that if you take a look at the way that this card is currently formatted, with apparently the stats being official, 93 pace, 93 shooting with 79 physical, and 95 for dribbling. Now, take a look at this card, right? So if they improve base card stats for dribbling, but you can give him a hawk and you actually boost long shots with shot power, that would be kind of nasty. But it really just depends on how they actually format the card, because right now this is at an 89 and this new one is apparently at a 93. So we'll see what they do, man. But I still feel like the hawk is going to be the go-to option for a lot of people on this bad boy, especially if they boost the dribbling by a lot, because even the passing is by a +4 as well too. So a lot of very cool things to work with there. The next card that we have here is the Koke card. So with his card, he looks like a good all-round midfielder if they actually give him a few things here and there. So let's take a look at this card from a base perspective. Okay, so he's a medium work rated player. He's a medium work rated player, but this card does seem like he's formatted really nicely. I hope they change the work rates, to be honest, because I usually don't like medium. Like there's a very few amount of cards that I actually like it for at this point in the game, right? Like the Team of the Year Jorginho card, which is obviously huge stats, right? Not a lot of people use him because of price range and the fact that people need to pack him to actually use him and stuff. But obviously the other card is the Nkunku card after a certain point. I didn't really like him in the beginning of the year, but after a certain point, he ended up being significantly better. So with this Koke card, you know, potentially on a shadow chemistry style, if we take a look at how he's formatted in game, his agility is on the lower side, but the shooting and stuff is in a pretty decent area. So if you could give this card a shadow chemistry style and they boost the dribbling to be in a decent area, he could potentially be like an Nkunku card where, regardless of the fact that he has the medium work rate, he could end up being pretty solid, right? Because average body type, base card stats for shooting being significantly increased from a 76 to an 85. Some pretty interesting variables to work with there. I wish they give him a high work rate, because if they give him that high work rate, that would be absolutely phenomenal. But he could still be pretty decent on the medium because the way that he's currently formatted on this card, right? Even the physical being improved from an 81 to an 87 could be a beneficial thing. But it just depends on a few variables here and there, right? Like the work rates are a little bit off, I would say. But next up, we have the Tyrone Mings card. So with Mings, guys, he looks really nice too. I like the way that this card is formatted, because the main thing that you have to see here is the fact that his physical is at a 93 for base card stats. So let's see how he's formatted here, right? On the inform rated version of his card, the unfortunate thing on this bad boy is that the acceleration's really low, okay? But I'll show you guys somebody else who I don't think I actually reviewed this year, but Tuanzebe, you know, they put to a point where he's at least at a 79 for acceleration, 89 for sprint speed. Now, no matter what, guys, even though Tuanzebe is a really good card, if you're using a 3 at the back formation, these guys are going to be annoying to use, right? Because of the, you know, through balls, lob passes, that being a huge meta part in the game, it could be very annoying. Now, this is a plus 10 difference on that, whereas this one is a plus 20 difference, right? So I'm really curious to see what they do with the Mings card, because listen, man, that pace is not set up nicely, and neither is his dribbling for agility and balance. But he could still be a very good defensive player because of the improvements that they've done to his physical, right? So his physical from the rated version before, or this one over here, is at an 87, but the new one is at a 93, right? So the fact that this is at a 93 with 90 defending, 86 pace, it's obviously going to be a shadow chemistry style on him. But the problem is going to be in that acceleration area and what they do with that. Because here's the thing, man, when these cards are formatted in this way, like this, where the sprint speed is significantly higher, I personally don't like this, right? Because you want to obviously give him the shadow, but it just feels weird to give him a sprint speed boost when he doesn't need a sprint speed boost, right? So we'll see how they format the card. I do feel like they're not going to change how they upgrade Tyrone Mings in regards to that acceleration, but hopefully they do, man. They might surprise me, because from base stats, I will say 86 is nice, but it just depends on how they actually format that pace, because the way that his dribbling is with that pace is not ideal, but he does have the physical, so he could still be a pretty decent card, right? Hopefully this showdown card ends up being good, because apparently this is one to come tomorrow. It might not necessarily be these guys, but just need a different cards that are actually good. Like this Laporte, like this is a good card to put into the game, and so is this Curtis Jones. So, you know, but the last 4 are just, you know, like, you know. Next one we have is Munain's card. Munain, this card could be really sick, actually. Let's see. Let's see how he's formatted. Very curious about this one. Okay. Ooh, he looks cool. Huh. Okay, so dribbling is already in a really good area, actually. Okay. 91 for pace. The difference is from an 84 to a 91. So the hopes and dreams, right, for this card is that you would work with reactions and composure being on the lower side, but it's going to be improved by a +4, so hopefully in a pretty decent area, because from what I'm seeing, especially with shot power and stuff being low, this is a Hawk chemistry style 100%. But the shooting boost on the card is from a 79 to an 86, which is a pretty huge drastic change. So I do feel like the Hawk chemistry style is going to be the ideal thing, because with the Hawk, maybe the acceleration is going to be in like a 98, 99 area potentially, with the sprint speed being in a 92 area. And if I'm using that in the cam position, I genuinely wouldn't mind. Now, the main thing here, obviously, is the fact that this is a new card. See, these cards, these are the types of cards they should release more into the game. But this card needs the 4-star weak foot, okay? Because if you give him the 4-star weak foot, this short and lean minus body type is like, in a way, agile but physical at the same time. Like, I don't know if you guys remember me reviewing this card. I don't know if you guys actually checked this one out, but Zola also has a short and lean minus body type, and his dribbling stats for agility is at an 87, but because he was a shorter player at 5'6", I didn't mind it. Well, it's not this version of the card, obviously. It was the 90, I'm pretty sure. But I didn't feel like I was like super into improving the dribbling, if I remember correctly from actually reviewing this card. So I think I just gave him a hunter, and he was perfectly fine, because the short and lean minus body type is actually pretty solid for these types of players. So the fact that he has that, you just got to give him a 4-star weak foot EA. Do not give him a 3-star. You're putting new cards into the game, upgraded version, new different cards. Make sure that you give him the 4-star weak foot at the very least, because 4-star capabilities is awesome. You know, he's got 80 for stamina, so the improvement from that is an 89 to a 93. So it's most likely going to be a card that you use in the middle, right? It's not going to be a card that I could see people using in the side positions. Hector, 83 pace, strays away from the meta of the game a little bit, unless he is a medium-high work-rated player. So let's see if he actually has that. This is also a position change on the card too, with a 4-star weak foot while being left-footed. So obviously a few variables to work with there. Medium. So this is going to depend on EA for sure. Okay, and this is 100% going to depend on the EA. So like the mains card, look at the way that his pace is formatted, right? He has 73 acceleration with 57 sprint speed. What could they possibly do to this card, right? The main thing that they can improve is obviously the acceleration. But then at that point, you're kind of using the Hector card in a way where you're using him to be a player who defends well from his acceleration point of view. Like, if you guys remember me reviewing Verratti from back in the day, you know, Verratti's card, if we check him out, doesn't have sprint speed either. But when you give him a shadow, he has 87 acceleration with 78 sprint speed. Now, like we said in the review during the time period, the pace is going to be a problem from time to time, right? Especially the sprint speed area. But manually wise, you know, manual defending, it might, or not manual defending, but defensive AI defending, it might not be a big deal. But it really depends on whether or not they actually give him that improvement for the pace and the work rates, right? So that card looks more of a dusted card, I would say, you know, depending on how they format him, for sure. Next up we have is Team of the Season will start on the 29th of April. Okay, cool. So after this showdown card, we're going to be busy with a lot of stuff. So let's see here. So Mark Noble, they've done some really nice stuff to this card. So let's see how he's formatted. So Noble's card, 3-star, 3-star. So hopefully they at least give him the weak foot, right? I don't necessarily need the skill moves. The skill moves I don't care about, right? But the weak foot at least, you know. Average body type, so that's fantastic. I really like that for sure. On a shadow chemistry style, his pace is formatted where acceleration is higher than the sprint speed, which is pretty solid, to be honest. He has 84 for base card stats. 84. So maybe it's going to be... So maybe it's going to be like a 92 for acceleration with lower sprint speed. Maybe it's going to be something like that, where the acceleration is just higher than the sprint speed, because it is by a +12, right? So it depends on if the EA actually format that differently. But again, it's another card where the pace is formatted in a weird way. Maybe with a work rate change on the card, we'll see how that works out. His dribbling is in a pretty decent area, I would say, because the 4 main dribbling stats is decent. At an average body type, the agility and balance might be on the lower side, but they did boost it to an 89 for dribbling. So I do have hopes for that, because that with an average body type is good. Average body type in the midfield position is perfectly fine. So hopefully they give him the right improvements to make him a usable card in game. Because guys, there's been a lot of West Ham players, a lot of English West Ham players. So there's always like that variable to work with just by itself, right? The Declan Rice, the Fredericks card, Noble, people have Bowen in their team, right? I never really use the Bowen card. I'm pretty sure that's like a concept player for the most part, but it's just something that you can work with if you want to, right? The next one is going to be Cooper, 83 pace on the lower side for sure, but physical on the higher side, which is very, very important to every single time. Plays for Leeds United, and his pace, I like how his pace is formatted. So this card could be formatted in a way where it's kind of like, I don't know, I guess it would be like an 89 for acceleration, 91 for sprint speed. Something like that, I would say, you know, maybe it depends, right? Like a 91 acceleration, 93 for sprint speed, you know, something like that. This card on a shadow would be pretty solid because I like the way that his physical is set up. Because on a 91 for physical on this card, look at the way that the spread of his physical is, right? So it's at an 80 for strength, 78 for aggression, and then 80 for jumping. So all of that being improved can put it into the high 80s area, low 90s area, which would be very, very solid to give him that shadow chemistry style. For people that want to link with the Scottish players or the Leeds United players, if they ever actually have some pretty solid cards, right? The next one we have is going to be Royce, which I think is going to be absolutely crazy. This card, I think he's going to be nuts, dude. I really do. Let me see. Because listen, man, Royce last year, the FUT birthday card literally allowed you to have fun in the game. He was crazy, man. I loved using that card so much because the way that the card is formatted for certain things, right? So Royce is a FIFA player when they actually provide these new cards. Not necessarily at these points in times because he's missing a bunch of stuff, right? But he gets to a certain point where when they boost his dribbling by quite a bit, his shooting by quite a bit, right? You can give this card, you know, a Hunter chemistry style, a Hawk chemistry style, and they boost the base card stats for dribbling, which is the main important thing here because he has a unique body type that usually in FIFA is actually really good, okay? Usually it's really, really solid. In the case, in the case of this card, 92 stats or 92 for passing stats is incredible. It's so clearly formatted for a Hawk for you to give him that pace, to give him that shooting and that physical, while hopefully if they improve it the right way, because listen, man, it's a 93 for dribbling in comparison to an 89. So if they give him a nice little cheeky +4 for the agility, the balance, that would be a pretty decent area for a card that hopefully has a good unique body type in game, because he always usually does, right? That's why that FUT birthday card was incredible to use. So this card has a whole lot of potential. You know, it's a card that you're mainly going to be using through the middle for sure. Why? Because his stamina is at a 76. So they definitely need to improve that a lot. I would say to at least be in the 87 area to be nice to use in the middle positions, right? So cam area, striker positions, maybe as your attacking oriented center mid and stuff. You can use them in the side areas, but it's always usually better to have players that have a little bit more stamina to be used in those positions. But yeah, this one is definitely a very, very exciting card for sure. Apparently, I don't know, the FUT Sheriff retweeted this could be an end of an era card coming soon. You know, a Defoe card, it's mostly going to be for people that actually get those English links. Defoe, you know what it is, man? If they were to give him like Aguero stats at some point, like they just have to make him a super good agile player, like explosive, you know what I'm saying? For him to be like a really, really solid dude. During FUT Captain's campaign, we will see daily icon moment SBCs to celebrate national teams or club captains. So you guys know I'm going to be on the reviews for that as well. The next one is going to be the Quagliarella card. Yo, this guy back in the day, he had a year. It was probably like 6 years ago. I'm not even gonna lie to you. He was so sick. So EA, when we talk about new cards, these are the new cards we're talking about, because look at what you did to his shooting. Please tell me his base stats for shoot. Oh my goodness, this card looks crazy. Look at him, guys. Look at this bad boy. Look at this bad boy. So they're going to give him 90 pace, but his acceleration and sprint speed is in a very similar position, okay? But look at the way that his agility and balance is set up, okay? This card, probably going to scream for an engine chemistry style, probably, you know? He could also be the type of player where if they improve his dribbling stats to be at a certain point, he would be nasty on a Hawk. But from what I'm seeing here, 95 shooting, you might not have to mess with that, because guys, look at his stats as it is. It's in the high 80s area, but they're very close to each other. So if the 95 shooting is a thing, where this right here is at an 87, that means that this card is probably going to be in the 95s, 94 areas for shooting. So you can kind of focus on giving him other stuff like the engine to boost his passing, his pace, and his dribbling, while working with pretty decent physical capabilities, because they'll boost the strength, not necessarily in the aggression, but it could be a card that, like I said, you give him a hawk and make his shooting essentially perfect, while giving him that extra pace and physical, right? So a couple of variables to work with there, depending on what they actually do with him. The next one we have is Marcelo. Marcelo is obviously going to be a card that is gonna be sick, man. He's like a Dani Alves, right? So a card that is going to be a versatile monster, a card that gives you you know, the 5-star skills, the 4-star weak foot. The only thing that's a little bit different on this card is the high-low work rate, right? But if we take a look at the Dani Alves card, he was a high-medium work-rated player, right? So the difference between the two is going to be in one being more aggressive than the other. But the thing is, though, guys, is that obviously for the meta of the game, it is always preferable to have someone who is high-medium work-rated, who is high work-rated for the most part, right? But the way that I see Marcelo being used in teams is mainly going to be as your player that you use in the left mid position for a 3 at the back formation, one of your 3 midfielders playing through the middle, one of your 2 midfielders playing through the middle with his high-low work rates. People love cards that can attack and defend quite a bit, so it's going to be ideal to use him in those types of ways, right? Cards like this, you know, like the Alphonso Davies Rule Breakers card, using him as one of 3 midfielders is one of the ways that I see people using him. And the thing is, though, guys, is that if you use this card on stay back while attacking, it's still perfectly fine. A card that can potentially score goals for you when given the opportunity to is always fantastic to work with, right? So the improvements that they have given this card, you know, being the left-footed player with the 5-star skills, the 4-star weak foot, that's like the main things, right? That's why I was trying to compare him to the Dani Alves card, because with Dani Alves, if you guys ended up getting him, you know, 442k, so depending on some people, this card is fantastic to use as well, right? Because he has attacking and defensive presence. So it's a very similar situation to the Marcelo card, except for the work rate area. So these cards are always great to use in the meta of the game because they offer you every single variable, right? It's like, oh, you know, my fullback just happens to be in attacking position, but he can actually score. So that's very important there. Next up we have is Sergio Busquets. So Sergio Busquets, I love when they release Sergio Busquets because obviously, generally speaking, he's a very slow player in the game. But every time they give him a new version of a card and they improve the pace part of him as much as possible, that is when he's really sick to work with. Now, from base stuff, he does have a medium for work rates, which isn't super ideal. But in the midfield position, guys, you know, if the pace actually ends up being really good, because look, he's going to have, this is the important stuff to look at. He has 43. So the difference is 3, which is really good because from this card's at an 86. So that actually means that his acceleration is probably going to be at like a 93, 95 type of area for acceleration and sprint speed on the Shadow Chemistry style, giving him that plus for both of them. Because, you know, obviously for this card, guys, if we take a look at his physical and stuff, his physical is already at an 88, which is really solid, but he has crazy passing, defense at a 93. So his defense will essentially be perfect with a Shadow Chemistry style. You giving him that pace and defense boost while being a player that can push forward and come back. It could be, you know, potentially a card that could be like an Nkunku, be a medium work rated player, but still be very solid, depending on how you're going to use them. The difference is that Nkunku is a player that has a different type of body type. So the aim and the goals for both of the players is a little bit different, right? So I think Nkunku might fit the meta of the game a little bit more because he feels more agile, but the high and average plus body type could be very good for the defensive stuff, depending on a few things here and there. And it would also be a huge plus if they were to give him that weak foot too. It definitely would be very nice as well. And I think that is pretty much it. Most people are going to be doing the Champions League stuff. Benzema, I guess, scored. Not watching the game right now, but yeah, nothing else so far, guys. So the promo looks pretty decent. You know, some people complain about the design of the cards. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't care about the design of the cards. I just care about how they perform in game. So yeah, this is how the card looks from, I guess, potentially being upgraded, which I think this card design looks really, really cool. In Marcelo's case, because of the Real Madrid logo, Brazilian flag, white Real Madrid shirt, it looks really, really sick. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, there's really not much else. You guys see that I've mostly followed the guys that give me all the content stuff. But yeah, a few cards that are good here and there for the meta of the game. I don't think people will use all of them if they format the way that I think that they'll actually format them. But I can count 4 or 5 cards that look absolutely incredible for what they are. So yeah, after this video, we're going to be doing the Foot Heroes. They got some upgrades, which is going to be these bad boys apparently, so we'll be doing a separate video on that as well. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video today. I will catch you guys for the next one. Peace out, dudes. Love you guys.